Week 5 team reveal. FPL is finally back, and it's time to confirm whether I am selling a Man United midfielder for Son ahead of his fantastic fixture. So you want to make sure you stick around for that, as well as discussing some alternative captaincy options for our teams. So make sure you do drop a like on the video. We're aiming for 200 on this video, and if you can, smash that subscribe button if you're enjoying what you're seeing. We're aiming for 10k before tomorrow's deadline. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. So first up, some essential FPL news regarding the return of the European Cup competitions, because this is going to have a major impact on our transfers in game weeks 5, 6 and beyond. So for those that don't know, between game week 5 and 6, we have the first round of these competitions, and that's going to be the Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League. And I've put the teams here for you to see who this impacts, because these are teams that we have heavy investment in FPL. And for those that don't know, basically the fixture run going forward is going to be game week 5, then European Cup competitions, game week 6, EFL Cup, game week 7, then European football, and so on and so on. And I think that we're going to see huge rotation in some of these Premier League fixtures for those teams that have the squad depth available. Now, the reason why I've highlighted this is because I think that we need to consider rolling our transfer in game week 5 as a bit more of a priority than others may seem. Of course, the investment in the Spurs midfielders is a priority for a lot of people, but I almost feel like rolling your free transfer is just as important. And I've put some benefits here. Firstly, we're going to get information over the next week. So firstly, game week 5, we're going to know which players play in the Premier League, and we're also going to know which players play in these Europa Cup competitions. So for example, if we see a situation where Alvarez at Man City plays in game week 5, plays 0 minutes in his Champions League fixture, that will then look very good ahead of game week 6 at home against Nottingham Forest. And I really think that sort of information, having 2 free transfers in game week 6, is going to give you the opportunity to really attack that game week with just that 1 week worth of information, which I think is going to be beneficial. The other thing, flexibility to react to potential injuries over this period. Teams are going to start playing a lot more games, and this could incur injuries into some key players or highly owned players. Again, this is only assuming it will happen, but we know these sort of things do occur in FPL. So I'm not sitting here saying you absolutely need to roll your free transfer, but I just want to say that rolling your free transfer is probably going to have more benefits than usual because of the introduction of Europe. The one thing that I'm really excited about game week 5 is the fact that we can captain someone other than Erling Haaland and actually justify our reasoning for it. In previous game weeks, I think people have probably looked at the fixtures and thought, yeah, I'm going to swing against Erling Haaland, but it probably hasn't made sense. I think this is an opportunity to do so, and I've put my top 3 candidates on your screens here. So coming in number 3 is going to be Mo Salah, who is away against Wolves in that lunchtime kickoff tomorrow. Currently 26% owned in the game, but I expect him maybe to be the lowest owned captain in game week 5 because of the other 2 options that you can see on your screens here. Now, Wolves are 5th worst for expected goals conceded, but it's worth noting all of this is such a small sample size. And the big thing about Mo Salah is that he's consistently returned in the opening 4 game weeks, not just in terms of output, but his underlying numbers as well are fantastic. So while he might actually be doing well from an output perspective, I always like to look at those stats, and he is ticking both of those boxes right now. Now, the reason why he's number 3 on the list is just because if you're sat there with Mo Salah, you probably do have Erling Haaland, and I just can't justify captaining Mo Salah over Erling Haaland right now. And also, if you are sat there with maybe a Spurs midfielder, then it starts to become the question of, do you prefer Salah away against Wolves, which isn't the easiest fixture, it's worth noting, or do you fancy having your Spurs asset at home against Sheffield United? And even if you're a Maddison owner right now, I would say probably Maddison and Salah are really neck and neck in regards to captaincy, and it's all about how you view that asset. I'd probably say Salah is more of an explosive FPL asset compared to Maddison, but Maddison definitely has the fixture. So I'm going to put Salah just ahead of Maddison, but it's worth noting that I think both Haaland and Son are better than Salah this week. Now, coming into number 2, as I discussed, Haaland, 92% owned. And realistically, Man City for me are fixture proof when it comes to it. So West Ham away, yes, it might be tricky to some, but I still think it is a favourable fixture. And we only have to look at last season where Haaland bagged a brace in that game. And the other major factor here is the effective ownership of Haaland. I think a lot of managers are going to go to Son if they do own him, and I think that is the right decision if you are an owner in him. But otherwise, people that don't have anyone other than Erling Haaland, I think are just simply going to put on him out of fear. And that is the big thing you need to consider if you are going to go against Erling Haaland. If he does go off, that is going to really impact your rank from a negative perspective. I know that from experience last season, but it seems like an obvious pick if you don't have the luxury of Son in your team. The one thing I would say is, as I mentioned, competition has returned in the Champions League. We could see potential minutes risk to Erling Haaland. We didn't really see it last season, but it is always at the back of our mind if we are considering it. But of course, this is going to impact a lot of players in the foreseeable game weeks. But my number one pick for Game Week 5 is going to go to Son. Now, I think if you're buying Son coming into Game Week 5, I think you have to put the captaincy on to really justify that pick, because Game Week 6 away against Arsenal, Game Week 7 at home against Liverpool, they're not the best fixtures, so I think you really do need to double down on the transfer that you made. So captaincy, if you're buying Son, is just, for me, locked in. If you already own Son, then it is a little bit of a deliberation, but I still think he is the best pick. The fixture is by far and away the best one. And importantly as well, he is now playing as a forward in this team. Now, a few people are saying it was only one game week. Is it going to continue? I expect it to continue, yes. I think he will start as a forward. The big question mark is, because he's playing as a forward and Richarlison is waiting in the wings on the bench, we may see a situation where maybe Son does come off around the 70th, 75th minute that we saw in Game Week 4. Then that does become a little bit of an issue, because if they have Solomon and Perisic playing off the left, maybe Ange views Son and Richarlison as his forwards. Maybe we will see a situation where Son comes off early. Now, is 70 minutes against Sheffield United at home still worth captaining? Absolutely. I still would put him ahead of Erling Haaland, but it is just worth having that in the back of your mind. And the thing that I do love about it as well is that he is a differential captain, only 12% owned in the game. This just feels like the perfect opportunity to swing against Erling Haaland if you are a Son owner. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Unfortunately, right now, I'm not a Son owner, but I may be as we come closer to the deadline. Right then, what you guys have all been waiting for, my Game Week 5 team reveal. Just a quick reminder, I am currently ranked 227,000th in the world, 1 free transfer and 1 million in the bank. And I can safely say I will be playing Matt Turner at home against Burnley come this game week. I have been debating potentially making a goalkeeper transfer, maybe upgrading him to a Nick Pope, or even going sideways to a Leno, for example. But realistically, I just can't justify making a goalkeeper transfer this week. The fixture alone is good. Am I expecting Forest to concede? There is definitely a possibility in that. But for me, the fixture is too good for me to sell Turner this week. Now, it's worth noting, Nottingham Forest have signed a new goalkeeper, which is definitely going to be direct competition for Matt Turner. So this is going to be a problem waiting in the wings. But for now, in this game week, I feel Turner's position is safe. And for that reason, I am happy to start him this game week. Now, moving into the defence, of course, we've gone for the back three here. And at the time recording, my current selection is going to be Ruben Diaz, a transfer that I brought in Game Week 4. I wasn't actually too delighted with the move, but I just felt he was going to be an obvious clean sheet, but clearly that didn't happen. Brought him in for Game Week 5. I think he will start. It is worth noting, spoiler alert, I do have a Stupinan on the bench. Am I expecting both teams to concede? Probably. I actually do feel like West Ham might nick a goal in this fixture, but realistically, Ruben Diaz, I just can't be benching him with a fixture against West Ham, even though I have a sneaky feeling they might concede. So Ruben Diaz is in the team. Udogie looking like probably the best defender to own come this game week. Very happy with him. And Ben Chilwell as well. Now, this could be an issue later down the line, but for this game week in isolation, I do not view Ben Chilwell as a problem. Of course, Chelsea don't have Lewis Hall. Cucurella really isn't in Pochettino's plans. And with Maatsen not really playing at left back, I think Ben Chilwell's minutes are still guaranteed. And I expect him to play in this Bournemouth game. Do I think Chelsea will concede? Most likely. But we know with Ben Chilwell, we do have that upside of potential attack and returns. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did see an assist or a goal from Chilwell. As I said, later down the line, yes, he could be a problem. For now, I'm absolutely fine with him. And my back three is most likely 90% locked in. Now for the big reveal, my midfield. Now, you know in previous videos, I've discussed about the benefit of selling a Man United midfielder for Son this game week, especially if you are a double owner like Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. But as you can see on your screens, I think I'm going to stick with my Man United double. I know a little bit controversial. However, do I think Son's home fixture at Sheffield United is good? Absolutely. But after that, away against Arsenal, at home against Liverpool, well, compared that to Man United's fixtures, I just feel like having that additional transfer available for game week 6 is a better move than having Son for one game week in isolation. Now, if I was sat here right now with 2 free transfers available, I would feel much more inclined to maybe go Bruno Fernandes to Son, have him for game week 5, and then maybe jump off Son in game week 6 to another favourable asset. But with only having 1 free transfer available to me, I don't feel as inclined to do the hop-on, hop-off strategy. And although some deem Tottenham having a great chance away against Arsenal at home against Liverpool, I still view that as some of the toughest fixtures you could have in the Premier League. Yes, defensively there are question marks about Arsenal and Liverpool, but I still don't think they are great fixtures at all for Spurs. And I feel like over the next 3 or 4 game weeks, I would rather have double Man United midfield than double Spurs midfield. And I actually think the introduction of Højlund into this Man United team is just going to enhance the Man United assets in Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. Because as I've discussed in previous videos, Fernandes' underlying numbers are fantastic. And I don't think they are going to necessarily dip going forward. I think they would only enhance. And with Brighton at home, I think that's a really favourable defensive fixture. Now, it's worth noting a few rumours going around about Saka and a niggle, potential ankle injury, I believe. Now, there is no confirmation on this right now. Hopefully, we will get something in the Arteta press conference. If we get news that Saka may be out for a little while, then I definitely will be selling him and most likely bringing in Son. But unless we get concrete evidence that is true, I will absolutely just stick with this midfield that you can see on your screens here. And last up the front line, again, I do not need to talk about Erling Haaland. He is staying in the team. But Jackson is one that I was deliberating. However, I just don't feel like there are any forwards in the game right now that really pique my interest. Now, maybe it'd be different if we had 2 free transfers available. I might feel tempted to move away from Jackson, but it's worth noting. Chelsea's underlying numbers are still fantastic so far as a team, and Jackson's are still good. I know he's not putting the ball in the net, but as long as he's accumulating these big chances and high XG moments, then I am more than happy to keep him for this Bournemouth away fixture. And as I discussed, the introduction of European football between game weeks 5 and 6, I just feel like that's going to give us a lot more information to understand whether maybe just holding Jackson longer term is the better move, because maybe the Arsenal forwards, the Man United forwards, the Newcastle forwards are just going to be complete no-goes because of potential rotation. So I'm happy to keep Jackson for 1 more game week. I know he's frustrating, but I think he's just fine for a hold this week. Now, quick bench reveal. Pickford obviously on the bench. I'm going for the Turner option. Hopefully that does reap the rewards. Estupiñán is probably the only one on my bench that I would consider bringing into the side, and that would be for Ruben Diaz. But that would only be if we heard some Man City team news that maybe Diaz was carrying a knock or not. I think Estupiñán has real high upside, but I expect Man United to score against them, so then I'm really leaning on those attacking returns. Probably will happen, to be honest with you, and he is the high ownership pick, but I'm going to back the Man City defence and stick with that starting 11. And in terms of captaincy, I'm going for Erling Haaland. Now, it's worth noting, as I said with the rankings, if I had Son, I absolutely would put the captaincy on him. And again, if Saka is ruled out for some reason, I would buy Son and put the captaincy on him. But I'm going to put the vice captaincy on James Maddison. I think with the likes of Rashford, Fernandes, Saka, they're all great alternatives. But with the slight risk of Saka, and I think the upside that Maddison could bring in this fixture, I'm going to put the vice on him. But realistically, I fully expect Erling Haaland to feature in this game. And I hope he does deliver. Fingers crossed. Yes, guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's Game Week 5 team reveal. Let me know your thoughts on my decisions in the comment section. And importantly, let me know if you have any Game Week 5 questions that you want answering. I will be doing that over the next 24 hours leading up until that Game Week 5 deadline. And it's worth noting, I will also be live on YouTube 8 AM UK time on the Saturday morning, answering any last minute questions and revealing any potential last minute changes to my team. Make sure you do drop a like on the video, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the live stream. Take care. Cheers.